Hey everybody, Ed Carbajal here for MMAnews.com. Please check out the MMAnews.com website as well as the YouTube channel where this video usually lives. Make sure you click the like and subscribe button. We have interviews. I think I mentioned the Uriah Hall interview, and there's some news that came out with his. I feel like didn't we get some news about Chris Weidman with COVID-19? I have to check when I bring up the MMA news site here. But we still have the interview with him when that fight was announced, and Molly McCann and others coming. So make sure you like and subscribe to the MMAnews.com YouTube channel. This is streaming on my own personal Twitch and on Twitter, which I think today's the last day for Periscope. It just switches to Twitter Live, if I'm not mistaken. But you can follow me on Twitter at Carbazal, where I share all the work that I do in all the places that I do them. So let's get down to business. Before we get into news, man, I mean, I feel like there's an event that happened last night that kind of went under the radar. I feel like not enough folks tuned in. And when you look at the names on the card, you know, it just seemed like it came out of nowhere. Let me just bring up so Andre Fila versus James Vick was the main event for XMMA 1. XMMA seems to be like a new promotion that I mean, to me, shout out to my co-host with at the regular podcast I do on Tuesday midweek. Matt Hawkins was the one that put me up on it. Let me go to there. So it was on their website, but it was on their YouTube channel. I was out and about. I'm here in the Northeast, by the way, and the snow's already started coming down. We're expecting some heavy, you know, heavy snow. Where the hell is there? I'm on the XMMA website right now. But I mean, there was just it seemed to have gone under the radar. And apparently, the event was really good. So they have a YouTube channel, XMMA, The Future of Fighting. They have a YouTube channel. So the event streamed there. I'm going to probably watch it as I wait out this storm. But really quick with the results. You know, it looked like they had. I don't want to spoil anything if you missed it. Check out their YouTube channel because again, I read off the main event, but then the co-main event was Francisco Rivera versus Ryan Lilly, Kyle Bochniak versus Kyle Uruguay, Chris Curtis against Kyle Stewart, Marcel Gon versus Brandon Herbert. That's the main card. Lots of finishes. I think there was only 2 decisions. So if you follow this, you know I'm a fan of finish cards with many finishes. So that's something I'm gonna check out as I booze it up and wait out this goddamn storm. I can't stand the winter. I'm sure I complained about it enough. But before I move on, shout out to Luke Lopez, who gave me some love and noticed the quality of my videos a little better. And if you notice, I changed the angle and stuff. You know, I invested some of my little pennies that I make doing this into some better equipment so I can bring better quality streaming videos and stuff to you guys. So shout out to Luke Lopez, who has been following this journey. Appreciate you, bruh. All right, so let's get into the top news. I know with the UFC making their transition from Abu Dhabi back to the States here in Vegas, folks felt like there wasn't anything going on. But again, that XMMA event seemed to be the highlight of the night. I know there was boxing. I'll tell you what, I was trying to watch that Caleb versus Caleb, Plant versus Troy. I don't want to butcher his last name, but you know, I was trying to tune into it, and but I wanted to record it because I was out and about running around stocking up the booze and TP and stuff as we do in the Northeast when we hear snow's coming or pandemics apparently or anything else that requires you to stay home longer than you'd like to. So I wanted to record it and I was having trouble finding it on my guide. I don't know if the cable's messed up or what, but I wanted to watch something last night, so I wound up falling asleep watching The Stand. Because by the time I got home after running my errands and doing everything else, teaching jiu-jitsu and everything else, I just didn't get around to it. But let's get to the news that popped up over the weekend. Again, you can check it out. We got everything up as far as trending. Of course, heavy UFC news. I've been busy, so I haven't been able to contribute to much else. But we did get the TKO loss for James Vick on that event. Shout out to Cole Shelton for nabbing that one from the event I just finished talking about. But again, Molly McCann, who we have the interview on the YouTube channel, she's fighting on the card, hopefully on the card that's coming this coming weekend, as was that UFC Fight Night 185 or UFC Vegas 18. I wrote the piece on it that's there. But I really like the interview with her. James Lynch does the interviews for us, and he does such a great job just getting the fighters to open up and speak their piece. But anyway, I know a lot of folks probably are just sitting around rubbing their hands waiting for the next big UFC event as far as the UFC fans go and the readership at MMAnews.com. So let's get into some of the news with the UFC. Got to get my vitamin C in with all these storms. So this thing, so this is what I was hinting at, as I mentioned. We had the interview with Uriah Hall, but Friday they pushed the Weidman Hall and Chris Weidman's bout got pushed back. Yeah, it was the COVID. Chris Weidman tested positive for COVID. I mean, you know what? It's crazy. The thing with this whole situation with the pandemic, and then I know Dana White had hinted about events we're probably not going to get a string of events like we closed out 2020 with, because just the travel restrictions and things are changing, because we're trying to burn this thing out or fizzle this pandemic out, and it's not going to be something that goes away, like overnight, as much as we'd love it to. But it is what it is, man. We got to roll with the punches that come with it. And unfortunately, this is one of them. They're going to move that to UFC 260, according to ESPN, and this piece that, or 261, the piece that Cole wrote up here at MMAnews.com. If you watch the interview that Hall did with us on the YouTube channel, one of the things Hall said that he compared the whole the middleweight division and pretty much all the fighters they get into this are chasing a title. So he compared it, the title is a gazelle that all these middleweight lions are going after. And one of the things that he said in that interview was like Weidman is just another lion that's going after the same. We're all going after the same gazelle, and Israel Adesanya is the gazelle, right? Who coincidentally is going up in a way to face the current light heavyweight champion, and it's just a weird. It's a weird. COVID doesn't make it easier for these guys to chase their goals, so. There's things Hall talked about, living in the gym and taking time away, the mental toll, not just the physical toll. I mean, most fighters will tell you that the fight week and the weight cut is the hardest part of their job, but it's just one of these things that I don't know, man. I always respect the dedication and the sacrifices they make to focus on their craft and be as good as they're going to be. Goddamn snow's coming outside. I have errands to run, but they said it wasn't supposed to come till 5 o'clock. But I always respect what they put in. I mean that's why we try to give them a platform here at MMAnews.com and every place else that's out there trying to. It's no one's. You can tell who the guys are that are looking for clicks to up their own as far as the people giving you this information. But then there's guys that are out there that just want to. The fighters are focusing on being better fighters. So then it's hard for them to think of all this marketing stuff. It's a little easier with social media, obviously, but, It's just one of the things that when you hear news like this about having to move stuff, it just makes things longer. Think about when this pandemic started and how Tony Ferguson made weight twice, once for an event that got canceled, but he wanted to. I mean, if anything, he wanted to prove something to himself, and I respected him for making weight on the original fight date till when it got postponed, and then they fought again, and that was one of the things I mean, not that he was making excuses, but one of the things he said, it was the hardest and longest camp he'd ever been, and to have the opponent change from Khabib to Gaethje, and then making weight again for technically what was supposed to be the same fight, just kind of extended his camp. So, and he made it till towards the end of that, even though it got stopped. But all that to say that these guys they're the blood, sweat, and the tears that they put out there for our entertainment. It's something else, man. Anyway, let's go back to there was some news about because the new rankings came out. I think last week I was talking about what's going to happen with the lightweight division as we got out of UFC 257. And I'm looking for, I know somebody made note of how, here we go. Oliveira responds to Khabib saying he's levels above the UFC lightweights. So if you remember, that was told to us by Dana White after UFC 257. Because people seem to be waiting for him to, let me bring up the rankings too while we're at it. Because I had a whole make-believe matchmaking thing, and this piece on Charles Oliveira is going to it's going to there we go, rankings UFC. UFC.com/rankings if you want to see them, by the way. I'd bring him up on screen, but I already have the website up because I want to pull the quote from Oliveira that we wrote about. Let's get to the lightweight rankings here. Okay, just FYI, Dustin Poyo jumps up to number 1. Gaethje is number 2. Charles Oliveira, who this piece is on, is number 3. Michael Chandler, that he was previously not ranked, and his win over Dan Hooker put him in at number 4. Above Tony Ferguson, Conor McGregor drops to number 6. Right? I mean, if you want to, there's up to 15, but if you want to go up to 10 after McGregor, it's Rafael Dos Anjos at 7, Dan Hooker at 8, Paul Felder at 9, and Diego Ferreira at 10. And then there's it goes up to 15. Iaquinta 11, Kevin Lee 12, Beneil Dariush 13, and Islam Makhachev 14. Gregor Gillespie at 15. So, if you remember, when I did the 7 takeaways, everybody's waiting to find out what Khabib says. And Khabib told Dana White, media asked him at the post-fight press conference, what do you think of, Dana White told everyone that Khabib wants to see something spectacular that would make him come back, right? And Khabib's answer was like, look, I'm levels above these guys. I don't see anything that's going to, I think I said last weekend, we all know he's not coming back. He's done. Coaching seems to be, if you look at Umar Nurmagomedov's performance in his fight that he cornered him for the previous Wednesday before 257, that was the Chiesa Magny undercard. That seems to be where Khabib's new focus, if he's going to be involved with combat sports, it's going to be as a, filling the shoes of his father as a coach, mentor, trainer, what have you. So he said he's levels above them, and it doesn't look like we're going to see him back. But anyway, so where's the quote from Charles Oliveira, who I just said is ranked number 3 right now, and everyone seems to be on board with him getting the next title shot, right? A funny thing about that, I had suggested before I read off his quote, I had suggested that, just because I'm a fan of tournaments, I was suggesting all week before the rankings, or right up until the rankings came out, that they should do a lightweight tournament to really truly crown a champion. But one thing my podcast co-host pointed out to me was like, well, then that's not fair to Charles Oliveira. He's so close climbing the ladder, and you throw him in a tournament, it kind of pushes him further away from where he was. And I didn't think about that just because, I mean, I'm being greedy and liking tournaments. But that was a really good point. And, Dustin Poirier seemed to like obviously he's willing to give Conor McGregor his rematch as a rematch. But if it comes to fighting for a title, he prefers to fight Charles Oliveira. This was what Poirier said at the post-fight press conference. And then there's also there's folks trying to throw Chandler. Chandler, I know he's ranked at number 4 coming in, but Poirier was like, you just got here. You got to get a few fights in before you start fighting for a title. And even though he's not the champion, he's the number 1 ranked guy. So he kind of has a say, right? If you're going to do a lightweight title fight, he was an interim champion, lightweight champion. And I don't disagree with that. I mean, Chandler did just get there. Maybe have him fight Gaethje or any of the other guys. Let's see. Let me bring that up again. Chandler's 4, so, I mean, he'd have to get through Oliveira. So Oliveira only has Justin Gaethje between him. And, it's weird to me. I mean, the win obviously would bump you up, but before that, Justin Gaethje was ranked number 1 because of his loss to Khabib. And, when they updated the rankings, Khabib is still listed as a champion. So we really need the official word from Khabib to be like, I'm done. Stop bothering me. Screw off. Make your decision of what you're going to do. So the UFC doesn't really do tournaments. I think I mentioned last week that I forget what season of The Ultimate Fighter they did. The only time they did that was they took the champions from all these regionals for the flyweight. That's where, I mean, that's how I became a fan of Tim Elliott through that season of Ultimate Fighter, because he won that and fought Demetrius Johnson for the flyweight title. So that's the only time I've seen they do something like that. And I think every season of Ultimate Fighter is technically kind of a tournament, right? Orange juice is good. I feel like Oliveira shouldn't get robbed now. So his response to Khabib's levels above. Where is it? I'm looking for the goddamn quote where he says, here we go. At the end of the piece. Oliveira sees path to an unlikely Khabib return. Charles Oliveira believes that Khabib will have a chance to prove he is levels above him. If the two face one another down the line, Oliveira believes there is a scenario that makes this a possibility, but admits that it's still quite far-fetched. Me beating Dustin Poirier and becoming champion could definitely entice him to return, and if he does, he goes straight for the belt, which, yeah, that makes sense. But I don't see him coming back, which I just said I don't either. He made a promise over his father's grave, so let's focus on what has to happen here, which is Oliveira versus Dustin Poirier for the lightweight belt. I can't disagree with Oliveira either, right? As much as I would love to see a tournament, again, I don't think he should be pushed back. Like what they see to him, if you do an 8-man, my suggestion was an 8-man tournament, right? So it would be from 1 through 8, Poirier, Gaethje, Oliveira, Chandler, Ferguson, McGregor, Dos Anjos, and Dan Hooker, right? An 8-man tournament. My idea was do it over a series of events, ESPN regular or ESPN Plus events, make them the main event. And of course, we already know there's guys that just don't want to do main event on TV or whatever. It's like a step for someone like Conor McGregor. He's main event pay-per-view only, based on popular opinion. Although he said he's been, he's gone on record and said, put me on the fight pass, first fight in the fight pass, as long as you're giving me my worth. I don't care where I'm at. Which that makes sense too. So, we have to, you got to take the info from what comes out of the people involved's mouths, so to speak, right? You don't want to do whatchamacallit, put words in people's mouths. So, which happens a lot in MMA media. OG Graveyarder, what's up, man? Let's see what you got to say here. I think if Khabib could come back after some legit time off, but I only want to see him in there if he misses MMA and with his family behind him. Yeah. You never know. I mean, look how many fighters that take time off, right, and come back and do better, especially if they're super active. And you got to remember too, like Khabib has to be. If you saw that interview with Justin Gaethje, um, where Justin Gaethje talked about how strong Khabib is. Khabib trained when he was active and getting ready. He trained on the regular at AKA with Daniel Cormier, who's the heavyweight and light heavyweight champion. And if you've never grappled with a heavier person, that is super fatiguing. So, but in the long run, if you're doing that to prepare for guys, if you're grappling with over 200-pound guys and you're competing at 155, your strength is going to be I'm going to get real nerdy about it. Your strength is going to be real nerdy. I mean, your strength is going to be really greater than most of your opponents in the division. And so here's the nerd thing. I remember an episode of Dragon Ball Z where they showed, like, what's the green guy's name? The hell's the green character's name with the antlers? Whatever his name is, he wears like these shoulder pads and stuff, and he's fighting Piccolo. Thank you, OG Graveyard. Piccolo is the character I'm thinking of. And he takes off all that stuff because it's part of his training. It keeps him heavy. So when he takes it off, he's faster and stronger. I don't remember the episode or who his opponent was, but that's just the example that jumped in my head right now. I'm gonna put this comment on screen because it's funny. Roided Tomato Dana. That's pretty funny. But so that's why he talks about being levels above these guys, because the things he's doing, I mean, in most of these, listen, a lot of people, if they're in the same gym, like I talked about when I talked with Bobby Nash and Kenny Cross over that fight at XFC. They're both at Michigan Top Team. One's a 155er, one's a welterweight, but they're prepping and training for each other. So it's no surprise that the lighter guy for the lightweight tournament, Kenny Cross, got a finish and won because he trains with a welterweight who probably walks around 185, 190 pounds, right? So there's something to be said for that. And I firmly, I have to, again, I changed my mind after talking with Matt from my podcast because, he made that good point about Oliveira. Oliveira shouldn't lose his spot. So, again, a tournament's nice. Tournament's great all over sports, but, he definitely deserves his shot since he's been working his way up there. And then, like OG Graveyard said in this quote here, Khabib coming back is coming from everyone but Khabib, and that's what I just finished saying. It's something that he needs to just clarify. Whether he does it through RT Sport, the Russian media outlet that puts up a lot of news about him, or just say it outright when to not to Dana, say it to media, put it out there, put it on social media, make an Instagram post rather, and make it official. Like, listen, I appreciate the love, but it is what it is. Oh, CB Daka, he's letting me know who he is. OG Graveyarder, I know who you are. But anyway, yeah. So I hope this weekend's card, the UFC Fight Night 185 or UFC Vegas 18 or whatever the hell they're calling it, as we near the event, that it doesn't take any more hints. Again, I'm just scrolling through the screen. And this was the other one that popped up yesterday that made me rub my head before I run out of time here. The Reyes versus Prochazka out. Rosenstruck versus Gain is in as February 27th headliner. So that was Dominic Reyes versus Jiri Prochazka wasn't going to happen anymore. So it says for undisclosed reasons, but I think the reason might be so Cyril Gain versus where is it? Rosen versus Jairzinho Rosenstrike. I think Rosenstrike put that out on social too. But I think I know it says undisclosed reasons, but when you hear that and you hear the comment Dana White made at the post-fight press conference, it has to be due to logistics. You know what I mean? I'm just one of these guys that that when you hear the way someone says something and you see legitimate concern, it's got to be something that you're just you know what I mean? It's got to be something that you're just having to work around, and I think this might be one of the workarounds for it. So again, I don't think we're going to see a string of events like we saw at the close of 2020 from the UFC. Maybe second or third quarter, you know, when they get back to Abu Dhabi, which I think is around the time they might go back. But OG Graveyarder, Mr. CB Daka asks, what do I think is next for the McNuggets, aka McGregor? What do I think? I'll use these last 4 minutes to answer. What do I think is next for McGregor? Well, I wrote a piece on something that Dana White said at the end of the post-fight press conference. It was published over at My MMA News on Friday, where he compares McGregor to Rocky Balboa in Rocky 3. You know, if you've never seen Rocky 3 or what's these different answers for what could and come should be next? You can say either. Oh well, I mean, well, I kind of agree with Dana White, and I mean, from what I saw, based on his expression and body language and the things that both Poirier and McGregor said at the end of UFC 257, I expect a rematch. Just by what they said, it looks like Poirier's willing to do it, and McGregor, from what he said and based on what we've seen in the past, think you know, McGregor Diaz won. I think the rematch happens. Number one, I think, yes, I believe a trilogy fight will happen. Number two, I think it happens when they return to Abu Dhabi. I think it happens in July, that first week, International Fight Week. I think that's when that happens. I think that's, with everything going on, I feel like that's what's going to happen. Because again, McGregor, that's not someone that, as much as I'd like to see that tournament, they're not going to make him a main guy on ESPN or ESPN Plus. He's a pay-per-view draw still, even when he loses, right? So, and he's been known to get the fights that he wants, and he says he wants the rematch, and Poirier's willing to give it to him. So they have, I mean, literally 6 months, you know, half the year to start building this up and getting the money and all that stuff right. And especially with the plans to return to Dana White said return to Abu Dhabi June, July. So I'm saying July just because, or maybe the end of June, you know, they could do a couple events and then lead up to their pay-per-view. If you look at their pay-per-view dates leading up to the initial announcement of a string of pay-per-view dates, they're all around that first week of the month, which is what they like to do. If you remember Las Vegas International Fight Week, when it used to be fun, it was always to come right after the 4th of July. So I definitely could see that coming. It would help them plan their, you know, through their second quarter of the year. You know, obviously the returning to Madison Square Garden is out of the question, which they used to like to do in November. That's where they wanted to do the JJ versus Weili Zhang 2 fight, but you know, this whole pandemic situation, it's dicking over everybody. So what are you gonna do? But yeah, definitely a trilogy fight. And I just watched. It's funny that you're asking about that. On Friday, I just watched the Agony or whatever they call it, and Defeat or whatever they call it on Fight Pass. It's on YouTube now, so you can check it out. And they show Dustin Poirier. He makes a symbol for we're 1-1. You know, and obviously, if McGregor was willing to give him the chance to avenge the loss, I mean, Poirier is absolutely the guy to be like, yeah, man, you did me the solid, I'd do you the solid. And remember, this fight came out because the two of them wanted it, not the UFC. They were ready to go on their own and make it a charity exhibition fight. So, which it looks like they have the type of competitive / business relationship to do that again. So if they both want it and they see money in it, not only for themselves but for, you know, the all the charitable stuff, because one of the things that they both said were like, we're going to help a lot of people by putting on this event. And maybe with the mature, you know, good Conor that we've been seeing, that video I shared it on Twitter, evil Conor and good Conor, you know, maybe that's what we're going to get out of these guys. So that's where I see it happening. And I appreciate the question, Paul. Thank you so much for chiming in there. But yeah, that's it. That's my time for MMAnews.com. I'll see you next Sunday after we'll have plenty to talk about with the UFC first event back in Vegas. Hopefully we won't be talking about any more card changes because of COVID, but you know, it is what it is. It's the times we live in. Thank you so much for tuning in, everybody. Make sure you like and subscribe to the MMAnews.com YouTube channel. Check out the website to see my written content and Mr. Shelton and everyone else that contributes there. And if you like following me, make sure you give me a follow on Twitter at Carbazel. I got a link to all my stuff on there too, of everything I do. And as Mr. CB Daka just mentioned, because he's tuning in because he listens to Combat Hour. So you couldn't find the stream on YouTube? Huh. I know YouTube's been problematic over the week. But anyway, if anything, you could subscribe to this on the MMAnews.com YouTube channel. You have a good one. Everyone else have a good Sunday. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. I will be snowed in, it looks like, from what I'm seeing out the window. But thank you so much for tuning in. I'm tapping out. Have a good week.